Good evening. Welcome to Self-Talk. My name is William Neal, and I'm your host. As always, I will attempt to demonstrate here tonight some techniques in the form of short sentences, which we call axioms, which when consistently applied will allow you to start controlling your distressing and troubling and even painful emotions. With the consistent application of these techniques, you will be able to diminish anxiety, stop panic attacks in an instant, and take control of your anger, which may be rampant out of bounds. You may be saying things and hurting people's feelings that you don't intend to because you have angry outbursts. Well, these axioms will allow you to take control of your anger and make your external reality fall in line with that internal image you have of yourself as a mature and intelligent individual. All right, let's get right into tonight's lesson. This is the how-to show, and we not only suggest to you how to calm and control your troubling emotions, painful emotions even, we demonstrate how. Our example tonight is from the Recovery International Forum, and this is lowselfhelpsystems.org//forums. You can go there and read examples of these types on any human activity that a person can engage in and get the kind of suggestions and help that I provide here from week to week. The author is Brooke. The subject is facing a fear, and this was posted on the 20th. A friend of mine asked me to come and visit her for a couple of days, which I would like to do. It would get me away from a temper-producing situation. And that's one of our axioms, which is to remove ourselves from a temper-inducing situation. So we just remove ourselves instead of releasing an angry outburst. We control and restrain our impulses to reply in anger, and we remove ourselves from the situation. We leave the room or we leave the house, we go for a walk, if that is all possible. The drive is an hour away. When I think about the drive, I get worked up. And the next step is the symptoms. Symptoms: I have insecure thoughts of driving there by myself. I have thoughts of getting symptoms while I'm driving. Now, these are symptoms of distressing and troubling emotions. And now she shines a spotlight on that. She looks at the emotions that are distressing her and see which axioms she can apply to diminish the distressing emotions. And that's another axiom. We've had these symptoms many times before in the past, and we lived through it. It wasn't harmful. So we know from experience, we only need to remind ourselves that our symptoms are distressing and not dangerous. And this is considering that you've been to a general practitioner or your doctor and you have a diagnosis of stress and or nervousness, and you do not in fact have a physical cause that is evoking your symptoms. So we want to err on the side of health. We want to make sure that we're not having a heart attack. We're simply having palpitations caused by nervous symptoms and or stress-related symptoms. So her spotting, she analyzes, I understood, I realized, another way of looking at it. I spot, I can change an insecure thought to a secure thought. Replace the insecure thoughts that are working us up and providing the distressing symptoms. The primary axiom: a thought produced it and a thought can drop it. Any emotion that I'm having is produced by a thought. You have the thought first, then you have the emotion. This is different in a startle where you may be walking down the road or the street and all of a sudden a dog jumps up the fence and barks. Now it's a startle. I have the fear first, and then I have the thought. As I realize, well, it isn't a big German Shepherd or a Doberman, it's a tiny little terrier. Now, first I had the fear, Now, as I realize objectively the situation is simply a terrier, a thought produced it, a thought can drop it. There's the thought that drops it. I no longer have to be afraid. It was a harmless, small dog protecting its territory. A thought produced it, a thought can drop it. She says here, a fear is a belief, and beliefs can be changed. She actually says beliefs are meant to be changed. But more accurately, our axiom is, fear is a belief, and beliefs can be changed. So we don't know if it's necessary to change all beliefs. That's situational. She goes on and says, we do things in order to get better. We don't wait to get better in order to do things. And just last but not least, she says, do the thing you fear and hate to do. And our axiom says, do the thing you fear and dread to do, and the death of that fear is certain. That's a little something I've added on to it. Because each time we engage in doing that thing we fear and dread to do, we desensitize ourselves little by little each time until eventually we no longer fear and dread that thing that we previously feared and dreaded to do. Okay, now we have some posts on this example. And Thursday 49 checks in and says, nervous fear is the fear of discomfort. Nervous fear and stress-related fears are fears of discomfort. Think about that. Review your experience and see if this isn't in fact true. Accept or reject possible sabotage of mental health through imagination on fire. And if you've followed the program for some time, you know that when we have our imagination on fire, we need to, at the very least, exchange insecure thoughts that are causing the fiery imagination, the fear, the apprehension. We need to exchange those insecure producing thoughts for secure thoughts that will inspire a feeling of security, confidence, and confidence, and will diminish the fear. In fact, eradicate it. A thought produced it again, and a thought can drop it. So she is suggesting sabotage here because she did not immediately think of exchanging the insecure thoughts for secure thoughts. There's no time limit on using these axioms. Whenever they occur, it is fine. But we should remember them sooner rather than later, so we don't have to spend hours and or days or weeks suffering symptoms needlessly when we have axioms that will dispel them in a thrice. She says, when we feel our worst and try our hardest, we make our greatest gain. The writer may choose to anticipate securely or not at all. That's one of Dr. Lowe's main axioms. If we're, as human beings, we will anticipate future events, but we should anticipate with a feeling of security, not continue to engage in anticipating fearfully or apprehensively. Again, exchange insecure thoughts for secure thoughts. And going back to the previous axiom, when we feel our worst and try our hardest, we make our greatest gains. Also, we don't have to act the way we feel, and we can function in spite of the way we feel. Two additional axioms touching on doing things in spite of the way we're feeling, and do things in order to feel better. Don't wait to feel better before you do something. You'll be waiting and waiting and waiting, and the symptoms will continue and continue and continue. So we need to do something to diminish and dispel those distressing symptoms.